Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS Show. Hope you're having a great Monday. This is Memorial Day Monday. Normally is more better Mondays, but today is Memorial Day Monday, and today we're gonna actually look at some of the things that we should be remembering. We say it's Memorial Day, but what are we forgetting? American history has been really, really interesting in terms of how they present stories, how they frame narratives for us to believe as American citizens and patriots. Today as we celebrate the loss of life for soldiers, patriots who served in our armed forces to protect our shores, to protect our way of life. Well, I appreciate those people, but I think we also have to look at some of the things that we're forgetting. Number one, a lot of the wars, if not all of the wars, they were foreign wars. They were fought on foreign soil outside of Civil War and Revolutionary War. And maybe one of the things that we need to be beginning to start remembering as opposed to forgetting is that all those wars have victims. And for every story that we have a hero, there's a victim somewhere in the world. Now, Joe Biden did something recently as he commemorated Memorial Day, and he gave a great speech. He talked about how racism still is pervasive, how our own military has been used in some regards to, I want to say, in some regards, to continue the pressure here in the United States. We had a little taste of it with George Floyd, but we had a lot of taste of it throughout the history. And this is not to sully the idea of those who choose service. My father's a veteran. My cousin's a veteran. JT is a veteran. I have a lot of people. I went to military school. I almost went to armed services, wanting to serve my country. But serving the country and serving the interest of people, who, in my esteem, if you will, they don't have the will of the people as their best priority. They're not serving our best interests. To the extent that American foreign policy has curved or dovetailed to the wishes and wants of American corporatocracy is a scary thing. And we begin to see that over and over and over again. Probably the last couple of years, a couple of wars, if you will, have been about oil. They've been about positioning. They've been about pipelines. They've been about the way of life, but it's not our way of life. It's to maintain a way of life for the people who are rich, the people who are billionaires, the people who are trillionaires. And for the people who are not billionaires or trillionaires, we get caught up in this narrative, if you will, that somehow, because you're not a millionaire, a billionaire, you can still serve and be of use if you do our bidding. So I want to make sure we peel the pea from the pod, if you will, when we talk about military service. I respect those who are in the military. I do have a question of the people who've looked at American foreign policy across the country and domestic policy, and lied to scores of soldiers' families, and things like that. We have a situation where soldiers are returning back from Afghanistan. God knows how long they've been there, brothers and sisters, but they're still there. They're just coming home. And you say, what was the purpose of them going to Afghanistan? Well, you can say it was oil. You could say it was Al Qaeda. You can say there's all these people, all these ideas. You don't even hear about Al Qaeda anymore. Do you even know what Al Qaeda means in Arabic? It means the foundation, or the Taliban. Do you even know what the Taliban means? Of course not, because these are, I want to say, monograms in memory that people put in our minds. So we think about these things without actually looking at the whole picture. The fact that we are sending people into harm's way based on some very, very loose and falsely crafted narratives. So today on Memorial Day, brothers and sisters, yes, I want us to celebrate those who in their hearts, went to serve for the best interest of our country. They went to protect our borders, to protect our way of life. They did that. However, I think it's really, really important that we hold accountable people who took advantage of that, who misled us. So I say on Memorial Day, today, what are we forgetting? And I will be addressing some of the things I think that we're forgetting in this show. Brothers and sisters, I appreciate you tuning in. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the ShOUT Show. I'm Preacher Moss.
Some African-American communities are prospering, like the residents of Greenwood, a suburb of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Here, former slaves were given land after the Civil War. This rare footage shows the thriving town they built. A remarkable Baptist pastor named Solomon Sir Jones is the pioneering filmmaker. His footage was lost for more than 50 years. Jones captures the bustling life of Greenwood, which could be any American small town. But Tulsa's whites don't like what they see. In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob rampages through the city. For a night and a day, they loot and burn Greenwood. A Fox News crew captures the only surviving footage. It is the bloodiest racial massacre in American history, leaving nearly 300 dead.
All right, everybody. I want to get a mood right. First of all, I want to thank everybody for riding with us. Myself, Sister Satana, the whole shout out show concept. I want to say thank you for riding with us for 400 episodes. You're probably going, why would you commemorate or spend time on Black Wall Street? Because it's important. It's important. And when I say it's important, it's not important to me. I think it's just important to respect those that came before you. Because it's the spirit of people like Black Wall Street that inspire me, that allow me to think that I have a perception of myself and I can even be better than my own perception of myself, and loving the people around me, but also standing up, standing up and recognizing, today there'll be a special called Dreamland on CNN. It's produced by LeBron James and his company, and Russell Westbrook has another documentary on Black Wall Street coming out on the History Channel, if it already hasn't. My point is, brothers and sisters, we have a debt of gratitude. Oftentimes when Memorial Day comes by, there's flags and we salute, and that's well and good. But it didn't sit well with me this year, because there are people who survived an atrocity, brothers and sisters. And these people, of course, this is a Tulsa race riot, the Tulsa Race Massacre. And these are the people who are on Greenwood Avenue. The people of course, I'm talking about Black Wall Street. And I talk about, how our military is used. You know what? Why our military is used and why I bring this up. One of the things about this particular massacre is it was the first situation of domestic terror on its own people. They used airplanes to drop bombs, what they call turpentine balls, on Black Wall Street to make sure the place burned for real. And sometimes, brothers and sisters, I say it, I have to remind myself, because people want us to forget. Now, before I forget and get going, I want to welcome anybody who's coming to the show for the first time. Again, my name is Preacher Moss. I'm the host of the Shout Out Show. I say host because I am not the owner of the platform. The owner of the platform is the people who come on the show and share their ideas. If you like us, hit a subscription button, notification button, blah, 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 blah. Most importantly, if you would like to say something on the Shout Out Show, you have to get in the comment section and express yourself. There's no need sitting there being a wallflower. Get in there and express yourself. Tell us what you're thinking. Now, I'm going to do you a great service, and I'm going to introduce you to the stars in the building, the people who make up the Shout Out Show. First of all, we're going to go to Mary Moss, better known as Preacher Moss's mom. How you doing, Mom? Thank you so much. We got 400 episodes, man. And I am really happy that we got 400 episodes. I really honestly feel a strong due diligence to the people of Black Wall Street. You know why? Because it was that entrepreneurial spirit, and you had to love it. I mean, you had the same setup in North Carolina, but it was different. This was a lot more organic. I love Black Wall Street. And it hurt when I heard that this happened. Just when I was growing up, just so you guys know, and I could give you some context. My Uncle Reggie sold my parents one of the great feats in his life. I'm thankful for. He sold my parents for me an entire set of Encyclopedia of Black History, a complete set. And in that set, even in the regular Encyclopedia Britannica, they didn't have the Tulsa Massacre, but in the Black Encyclopedia, they did have it. So I was exposed to it early. So big ups to Uncle T. All right, next up. Thank you, Reed. We appreciate it. We're going to try and have a safe Memorial Day. Hopefully, I'm going to get through this show with nobody jumping in, talking about their ex-girlfriend or something like that crazy, like we had a couple of shows ago. And Reed is home from the hospital, everybody, and she is doing well. She's back on her craft services dietitian job, so I won't be on the show too long. I got some food I got to reacquaint myself with. Just say. Big shout out to Brother Derek. How you doing? Why? Like, what's going on there? It says, hello, family, 400 show. Yeah, we're going to try and have one. Derek, Juwan, Reed, thank you so much for riding with us. 400 shows, brothers and sisters. It doesn't happen without your help. So who we got next? The ambassador has checked in, our official ambassador from Canada, my main man, Altaf Rashid. Thanks so much, brother. Wa alaikum assalam, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, alhamdulillah. And we made 400, man. We're going to keep on going. 500, we got to do something crazy. I don't know what we're going to do, but 500, I don't know what we're going to do. Probably find another host. I don't know. But thank you guys so much. Next up, we got Sister Ika all the way from Indonesia, giving us some love on the show. She said we got 400 episodes coming in all the way from Depok, Indonesia, not Jakarta, Depok. And she just showing some love and appreciation. Thank you so much. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Indeed. And I got to give a shout out. Next up, Johnny L. Thomas, my little brother. Shout out to all the veterans. Appreciate you, my brother. I was just saying how, you and my cousin and my father, you're all veterans. And had it gone another way, I probably would have joined the service out of military school. But I decided to be a comedian and a student. Didn't work out. But much respect for the guys who dedicate themselves to military service. The JT was, he was one of those guys. That's how we met, as a matter of fact. My cousin and JT were in the same unit. And he came by one time and we just clicked. And when I got to Milwaukee, I saw JT walking down the street. I'm like, I know that guy. It was JT. And that was what, 92? 92. So telling on our age, brother, but it's all right. Somebody got some pound cake. There you go. It's diabetical. Be careful. It's diabetical. Juwan said it's diabetical. Don't you? Hey, look. Don't eat too much of that cake. You lose a toe, doggone. You lose a toe. Don't do that. Don't do that. All right. And we have Sister Sultana again. My sidekick, 400 episodes. She's done all 400 episodes. Yesterday, she was celebrating with her family. Her niece had her wedding reception, and they had a good time. I'm glad you had a good time. The funny part, she acted like she had to put in leave to get off. I'm like, first of all, it's 400 shows. I'm going to have to take off tomorrow. Take off tomorrow. Sound like Stephen Fish. I don't know if I can take off tomorrow. Of course you can. And again, thank you, Sister Sultana, for riding shotgun from the first show up to this 400 show. So people go, oh, mashallah, 100, wow, 400 shows. No, you don't get there by yourself. So have a good team. I have great people in the box. Let's get to our subject. Memorial Day, what are we fighting for? Or what are we forgetting? I'm sorry. What are we forgetting? One of the things that's always been a concern with me is that America has a distinct reputation around the world for sending people in harm's way when the harm isn't necessarily there. Let me explain. We've engaged in certain acts of war around the country or policing, maybe not war or policing in some regards, but we've done it in a way whereby it's been disingenuous to the American people. In some regards, you disrespect the loyalty, the patriotism of people who are willing to go to these faraway places to defend this thing we call democracy. All too often, we have Memorial Day and we celebrate our soldiers, our fallen soldiers, our people that have served. But you know what? This year, I turned it around. This year, in thinking about Black Wall Street, if you will, I began thinking about, hey, man, what about the victims? For every hero, there are victims in war, whether it be Iraq, whether it be Afghanistan, whether it be Grenada. There are always victims, brothers and sisters, and they become victims of policies that they have nothing to do with. Think about the U.S. Cavalry for a moment. The U.S. Cavalry. The U.S. Cavalry with Wild Big Bill Hickok and all these people and all this folklore. We celebrate them, Army soldiers. But do we really have an understanding of the decimation that was done to American Indians, the Native American population? Do we really understand what happened to them? We don't. And it's not so much through our own faults that we don't, because we're fed a certain narrative. We're made in America to love the American way. And being able to have certain things like high quality education, good jobs, and universities and things like that, opportunity to make money, sometimes it usurps the fact that other people pay for it. It's like in baseball. For me to hit a home run, somebody's got to throw the ball. For me to catch a touchdown pass, somebody's got to throw the ball, right? Think about these things. And like I said, it's not a downer conversation, but it's a thinking conversation. And I often have to think about, whoa, this is crazy. For the Civil Rights Bill to be signed, a lot of people had to die before it even got to that point. Martin Luther King, he demurred a lot when they asked him about his place. He said, essentially, I stand on other people's shoulders. There were a plethora of people who came before him that never got to that space. And it was only through a crude capital, if you will, social capital, that he could say things, and he wasn't snatched off a stage. He wasn't plunked in prison. He wasn't killed right there on the spot. People had paused because all of a sudden he had a different type of position. When we talk about Black Wall Street, why is it significant? Some of the they still have people who are survivors of Black Wall Street. And I say survivors, and it only comes from the barnacle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because these people are 107 years old, 106 years old. You see what I'm saying? And they remember what happened as children. Can you imagine something like a massacre happens, you remember for over 100 years? They did. And as I watched Biden's speech, it really wasn't impactful, but he said something, and it's only because it probably will come out, that the military was part of the massacre that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The military, brothers and sisters, intentionally killed its own. And here we are fighting, if you will, to remember Black Wall Street. Only because these days, and this is my theory, anybody can jump in there, only because these days, because social media is out there now and it gets picked up. Do you hear more and more about it? I'm going to tell you something. 20 years ago, if I had told you about Black Wall Street, people would have looked at me like I was crazy. People would have looked at you like you're crazy. That couldn't have happened. And it only happened. Why? Because I did a show in Oklahoma. And the people told me that. I said, I remember reading that as a kid. And they were like, no, it really happened. People like Charlie Wilson from the Gap Band, of which it's a reference. The Gap Band is a reference. The G in Gap Band is Greenwood. and the A and the P are intersections. Brothers and sisters, they are from Oklahoma, and they were telling you that this thing happened while they were musical stars, that their hearts were pained and scarred by this thing that happened in this place where they grew up. And they could only say Gap Band because they couldn't say Greenwood because people wouldn't get it. So it was Gap Band. And even more so, you find these days that people are a lot more reticent of the fact that when you say something, because you have all this access to information, that there can be a rebuttal. That you can say something on your platform and there could be a rebuttal from several platforms. And it wasn't that way. Let me tell you about mass media, if you will. Back in the day, brothers and sisters, you might want to hold your children close because I don't want to scare them. Back in the day, there was no cable. Back in the day, you had to get up and turn the television with your hand. Back in the day, an antenna could be a wire hanger jammed down and you turned it like it was a satellite radio. Back in the day, you had 3 channels: ABC, NBC, and CBS. And that's who we tied into: ABC, NBC, CBS. And you might have had public television, which here in the United States, man, when you were a kid, Sesame Street and Electric Company. That was it. And you couldn't question them. Let me tell you how it was for Black people in media. Let me give you a scenario of how it was for Black people in media. And it probably will underscore how people are beginning to understand and come to a fruitful understanding, a fruitful clarity about Black Wall Street. If you had a newspaper, and your circulation of your newspaper was 1 million people, and the newspaper ran something about you that was untrue, your only course for rebuttal is if they put out a retraction. Otherwise, if it had 1 million plus circulation, it meant that there's a potential that 1 million people read the wrong information about you. And even if you could go to 1 million people and say that's not the case, you couldn't. Which million would it be? Could you catch them at a point where, it's not a saturation point where they can't think differently about what was said? Well, that's Greenwood. That's Black Wall Street. The fact of the matter is, they didn't write about Black Wall Street. The fact of the matter is, the white newspapers didn't write about Rosewood back in the day. It was too much to fathom. White exceptionalism does not like to see itself as the ugly thing it is. The same as American exceptionalism does not like to see the ugly things it is. Think about this if you're in the military. In the U.S. Army or U.S. Armed Services, you are legally sanctioned to kill if they tell you who to kill. Think about that. No other place can you do that. You are legally sanctioned to kill if I tell you who to kill. It's beyond reproach. You have to do something absolutely heinous. And even in the last couple of years, people have done things heinous and gotten pardons, particularly from a previous president, Donald Trump. Think about police. They are licensed to use deadly force, but they don't tell you who. Wink, wink. But you get the idea. They don't tell you who, wink, wink, but they do tell you where they can be found. And these are their habits. So at Black Wall Street, this is an intellectual comeuppance. America don't want to see this. I mean, people around the world go, did that happen? You go, yeah, this thing happened. Just like when Rodney King was beaten on the side of a highway, It was urban myth that black people were being beat up by the cops. They're lying, they're lying. Then a videotape came out, and people say they're not lying. And then another group said, your eyes are lying to you. It's not as bad as it looks. It's worse than it looks. And let me also throw this in here too. I appreciate that the people associated with Black Wall Street, inclusive of our seniors, our elders who are 106, 107 years old, I appreciate from the depths of my heart that they did not say, we forgive the people who did this. Please don't forgive the people who did this, because the people who did this, they're still around. They're just in different frames and fashions. You have to understand the momentous occasion that we're about to face right now. Black Wall Street is the argument about where America stands as a country and the Constitution, not George Floyd. You've been fed George Floyd for the last 2 years. It shouted out Black Wall Street. It shouted out, there's a woman, she was 104, now she's 106. And people hope, just like they buried the bodies of the people they killed, they're exhuming bodies to find these folks. Exhuming bodies around Tulsa to find these bodies of people who were killed in this riot. Because people put them in mass graves. Now they're using all kind of technology to find them. And it's just the same that I feel they gave you George Floyd for whatever, a year and a half. They gave you George Floyd, I feel like, in the hopes that these survivors died out, that they didn't make it another year. And God bless it, they did. And they're clear-minded and they remember it like it was yesterday. You know why? Because they can't escape their own past and what people did with them. And I have to say something. I appreciate it. I admire these people. They are our aunts, our uncles, our mothers, our fathers who have gone through the exact same thing in different ways, shapes, and fashion. This reminds us of a time, brothers and sisters, that Black excellence was exterminated. It was exterminated. People weren't supposed to be this sophisticated. People weren't supposed to develop all these modalities of education and commerce and enlightenment and religiosity without permission. And Black Wall Street is a primary example of not asking permission. I don't know about you. I don't know about you. When I'm dealing with people, and it's a business something, I have a tendency not to work under people who I know I could do a better job at. I will listen and I will compare and I will look at my notes. But if I can do a job better than you, then why am I going to follow you? And Black Wall Street, I hope you saw that clip. It said white people were not comfortable with Black people having that kind of creative expression in so many different areas. Hospital, they had a Black hospital, they had theaters, they had doctors, they had lawyers. They probably even had their own police. Well, not their own police, because I mean they have guns. I digress. But my point in fact, it's this excellence. It's this excellence that in 1921 scared people so much. It petrified them. And here we are in 2021. Where's the level of that excellence? I was talking to my dad today, and he said something about yesterday's show about winning with purpose. And in his own way, he's in his 70s, his north 70s, if you will. But he said something about our generation and the generation that's behind us. He said, you have a whole culture that they don't have no purpose in life. He said they don't have any purpose in life. Let's look what we got. We got something from Althoff. Let's throw it in here. What I questioned was how America, the authority of spreading democracy to the world, when they're a country where people aren't truly free. Yeah. You are, that's a question we're all living. We're living it right now, Altaf. I like that history is now being revealed to everyone. We in Canada are now becoming aware of the treatment of natives in Canada this past week. A mass grave of 215 kids was found in the place that was a residential school. Wow, stuff for the love, man. Stuff for the love. May Allah give them paradise and guide them. This is the thing, brothers and sisters. This is the thing. When you start pulling out these facts, I have no idea where Native Americans are buried in the United States. And even if you do, even when we did know that people just built on top of them, you had to go to court because this is sacred Indian burial ground. The contractors and developers like, we don't care. Pour the cement. So let's throw this out here. America has never said I'm sorry when it comes to war. Never. Never, I'm sorry. I misjudged this. I misrepresented myself. Because war is meant to be absolute. You can't be halfway in, halfway out. War is meant to be strategic, and it's not an intellectual exercise. You need people to be absolute in their thought, in their direction, and their guidance, even if they're wrong. But this is the premise. It could be said we're in war right now. Texas House of Representatives, they're fighting right now over a Voting Rights Act that they know is wrong. And they hide, and I'm going to throw out, these Republicans hide behind the fact that they can make it a law, even when they know it's not moral, it's not ethical. It's the most cowardly thing that you can have. I bring up Black Wall Street because as a Black man, I am so ashamed of America in this instance. Number one, that it happened, but number two, that it was never corrected. For 100 years, they had a preacher on CNN. He said, this is not a tragedy of 1921. He said, this is the tragedy of 100 years. And he hit it on the head. This is the greatest mass murder that's happened in the United States. He said, the greatest uninvestigated murder in the United States. Like, people don't even think about it. It just rolls off their tongue. Like, people, and we've gotten to this thing, and I've said this before, we got into this thing of rah-rah justice. You know what I'm saying? We rah-rah justice it. Rah-rah we rah-rah justice it. And what happens in that rah-rah justice is that people are looking for the emotion with the situation to lead us away from the responsibility of the situation, the accountability of the situation, and the truth of the situation. We got a comment. I would agree. A domestic war against Blacks doesn't mean that it has to happen all at the same time. And a domestic war doesn't necessarily mean people have to kill you with firearms. They can kill you with policy. More African Americans in the United States are killed by policy than actually guns. We talk about Black on Black crime. We don't talk about policy on Black crime. We don't talk about policy on Black crime. We don't talk about the laws that, of course, the drug laws. We don't talk about the things that break families. We don't talk about the things that allow for inferior education. We don't talk about the sentencing. We don't talk about the zoning. We don't talk about, zoning people means that you can't go to that good school down the way. Okay, all right, well, segregation is over. Yeah, but if I can make the housing over here so extreme that you can't live in that neighborhood, then you can't access that school. We have stories of women. I remember this young sister, I'm forgetting the name, so forgive me. A woman who wanted to send her child to a good school. She used a relative's address in that neighborhood. She was found out, and that lady got jail time. for trying to send his child to a good school. This is what I'm talking about. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is Sophia. Thank you so much. Yes, we are rolling. Our 400 show. Thank you for coming on the stream. We appreciate you. We're talking a little bit about Black Wall Street. Can you put that topic up again, Sister Satana? We saying Memorial Day. What are we forgetting? I know Memorial Day is supposed to be about the soldiers, but this is our Memorial Day, and I'm remembering Black Wall Street. And I will emphasize, brothers and sisters, that these, and take advantage of these documentaries that are coming on. Dreamland is coming on tonight. Ironically, LeBron James is one of the people that produced it, and it's going up against NBA games. But don't watch the NBA games. Watch this one. Check the History Channel for Russell Westbrook's documentary, because he wants people to know about Black Wall Street. But the minutiae, if you will, could it be, brothers and sisters, that we're still living a Black Wall Street? Could it be that we're still living a Black Wall Street? Let me tell you what I mean. Could it be that we're in a situation where our economy, the idea of Black entrepreneurial economy, has been compromised, where we don't have access to funds, where we don't have access to capital, where we're not enjoying the tax breaks that other corporations have? Black Wall Street. Could it be that we don't have foundational things that allow us to engage our own authenticity? If I wanted to go to a doctor, I want to go to a Black doctor. Can I just go to the Black doctor? Can I go to the theater? Can I get insurance from a Black insurance company? Can I do these things? Because when you look around, you don't really have it. You don't have it. And just the same as those bodies were, just covered over in Oklahoma. These things that I'm talking about, people just covering over now. Sister Satana said, we're being distracted. We are being distracted. We are being distracted. You've heard me talk about oftentimes cognitive surplus. Well, you know what? I'm going to show you and argue about the price of a lemon when the argument is all about these grapes. It's a grape economy, but they keep showing you lemons. And at some point in time, they'll lie to you, and you believe that those lemons have value. And the more value you have, the more lemons they keep giving you. Right? It's a grape economy, but all of a sudden, it's about lemons. And as long as they're giving you lemons, it's a lemon conversation, and you'll start having lemon conversation with other people to the point you don't even know that the conversation is about grapes. That's where we are as a society. Black, white, and different. If you're not in a space, brothers and sisters, where you're going to engage it, you're always going to get lemons. What's going on? My main man, Lukey. Lukey is an amazing musician. He and his wife, a beautiful guitarist. They're up in the Detroit area. Interesting thing about Lukey, he and I were supposed to do a show, and we pulled the show, ironically, because of COVID. Before COVID went full blown, we had a conversation. Lukey, we're gonna have to do that show again, brother. Now that people are, coming out again, but I'm pointing Lukey out because he's a brother, entrepreneur. He and his wife, entrepreneurs, and they are musicians. But they're also, it's also fun to see them engage in community. The fun part is we were going off a relationship built on love supreme and anatomy of gratitude. Yet another opportunity to engage with a musician, in this case, an African-American musician, based on another African-American musician. Why? Because that history has not been buried. Now, as we close, because I got food I got to eat. As we close, brothers and sisters, like I said, Memorial Day means a couple of things. Memorial Day, yes, I'm going to shout out and salute the soldiers who fought wars for our behalf to protect our way of life. But Memorial Day is going to be the other side of the argument, that American foreign policy sent some of these people in harm's way. That's here, but in the other side, People suffered. There are victims who are part of our American foreign policy, which has not always been, which has many times been disingenuous. Let's just say what it is. Like I said, for to be a hero, an act has to happen, and it has to be an anti-hero. For me to hit a home run, somebody's got to throw me the ball. In baseball, for the game to end, somebody's got to catch it. So, brothers and sisters, I'm going to bounce out. But I'm going to ask everybody, please, watch the documentaries on Black Wall Street. The one that's coming on, Dreamland, by Maverick Carter and LeBron James, please check that one out. And the one with Russell Westbrook on History Channel, please check that one out. I showed you a clip because I didn't want to do your homework for you. Right? I didn't want to do your homework for you. I want you to go and I want you to be informed, engaged, and enraged in some regards. Enraged in some regards that this could happen in this country and nobody would talk about it. Nobody would talk about it. So I'm out. I think that's all I got to say right now. Thank you guys. We have reached 400 shows. There's so many people to thank. I can't do it on the show because we'll be all into next week's show. But I want to thank, our family members, just the opportunity I want to give a shout out to the ultimate shout out. A shout out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow me to have this platform, because I was just thinking about it today. We have this platform we use called StreamYard. Do you guys realize if I had to do a show, 400 shows in a row, and I had to pay for a camera and a camera crew, do you know how much money that would be? It'd be just enough money that there wouldn't be a shout out show. But alhamdulillah, thank goodness for technology. So let's get to our sponsors. We want to give a shout out to BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, one of our Black entrepreneurs who's helping us with financial advising. If you don't want to call, if you don't want to go to the website, call 1-800-679-3175. Again, that's 1-800-679-3175. And we will have the owner of that business, Miss Maxine BK Esquire, will be on our show for our Saturday Spotlight. So you don't want to miss that. That's going to be a heck of a show. If you like that cryptocurrency show, you're going to love this show, because we're going to be talking about how you make your money work for you instead of giving away to other people. Next up, we're going to give a shout out to Bayan Islamic Graduate School. I'm no longer a member of Bayan. I am an alumni. Alhamdulillah. Again, I want to say thank you guys for make sure I got a master's in Islamic education. I appreciate it, and I hope to use it to good use. Again, that's Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Go to bayanonline.org. Okay, brothers and sisters, have a wonderful day. And if I haven't said thank you guys enough, my main man, Monji, I'm about to have the barbecue in a minute here, brother. I got some stuff back there, boy. Make you slap a tax collector. I got some stuff back there. It's going. Let me tell y'all something. If I don't make the show tomorrow, God forbid the Grim Reaper come. I just want y'all to know, don't feel sad for me, because they probably gonna find me an obscure barbecue chicken just laid to the side. Manji, good to see you. All right, everybody, listen, it's been great. It's Preacher Monster Shout Out Show. Enjoy yourself. We will be kicking off, inshallah, episode 401. And thank you guys for coming along for the ride. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings. This is the Shout Out Show. Your man, Preacher Moss. I'm out. Yo, assalamu alaikum. I'm Preacher Moss, comedian extraordinaire, but I like to add a new title to my name. I'm Professor Preacher Moss. You know why? Because I just graduated. Wait a minute. Let me get this out of here. This is it. Okay. I'm Professor Preacher Moss, and it's come through the courtesy and the blessing of the Muhammad Ali Scholarship, which came through Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Now, listen, I know a lot of you people are thinking, can I do it? Yes, you can do it. This is the part where I know I'm supposed to say it's easy. It's not easy. Listen, it was easy to get this degree. Trump would be a mufti. I digress. Listen, though, for you brothers and sisters that are interested, go to bayanonline.org, and you could be like me. Put yourself in the pitch for Islamic education. Wait a minute, there's a picture right there. Sound like them, everybody. Take care. Preach them off.